Hey everybody, and welcome to another model building workshop. I'm Mr. Allen from Providence, Rhode Island, and coming to you on behalf of the Community Libraries of Providence, and I'm at the Smith Hill location. So today we're going to look at the LS model of the Porsche 911S in 1/32nd scale. You gotta love this box art, huh? The car at the drive-in. They have a tendency to have some pretty entertaining box art for some of their kits of these fun 32nd scale models. There's an example of some of the other kits that they've got. I know I previewed a bunch of these a while back on this channel, so by all means go and look for that video, because I just kind of looked at a whole pile of them, because there's a lot to this series and they're a lot of fun. So today I'm going to look at the 911, and let's see what we got here, huh? So here's the instruction sheet here. The instructions are all in Japanese. They do have paint call-out numbers, which I think are for the Gunzi Sangyo line. And I was able to translate some of them. It's a rather busy instruction sheet. I've seen worse, and there are some that have all of the assembly instructions on one side because they have a catalog of their other kits on the back, and that's really cramped. So this is a little bit better. They give you decal information up on top and a rather basic assembly instructions here. One thing that has me a little confused is they show this whole rear part of the car assembly here, but I don't know what sequence. I guess it's step 2, but it doesn't show any of that. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really show that here, so I guess we're going to be figuring this out as we go, because if you look, you don't see any of the rear assembly parts on as they're going further in the instructions, so we may have to wing some of this. So they have a choice of license plates for this car depending on where you want to locate it. And what do I mean by that is that you have a decal sheet oh yeah, so I'm gonna have to do yeah, we'll see. All right, so there's some decals there, and they show you American style license plate, a Japanese one, and a European one. So you've got several options, and there's a bunch of racing decals too. So kind of interesting. And I may do a little kit bashing with this one as far as decals are concerned, because I've been working on some other models that had some fun racing numbers, and I may want to do that to this. We'll see. We will see. Yeah, there's some wacky looking things here. I don't know what the thing with the bomb is at the bottom. They don't really explain any of these, but they're there, and you can have some fun with them. So let me see. All right. I was going to put the dashboard decals on, but I don't think there's any way possible you're going to see those decals. Yeah, maybe. All right, we may want to do that. Okay, I'm going to pause. I'll work on the decal part. And so I've already put the sides of the body together. So I've done the seats and put the sides on that you see here, and I painted it, because the most of this model is going to be paint. For a car, the paint really matters. That's what's really going to make it. And I decided to make this kind of like a Death Race 2000 sort of thing. So I got some sort of fun stuff in there. Threw a jerry can and a little surprise machine gun just to add to the storyline here. I think this is going to be fun. All right, well, let me look at the decals that are going on the dashboard, and then we'll resume this in just a bit.
Okay, so I have the decals, or some of them anyway, on the dashboard. Well, behind the steering wheel. It's very hard to see them, but the speedometer, so forth, are there. So it's there now. Whether you're going to see any of this or not is debatable once you glue all of this stuff together. But hey, they provide them, so I thought I'd give it a shot. The decal was actually larger than the space we had on the instrument panel, so I had to do some cutting to make at least parts of this fit in there. So there are two Porsche 911 models that LS Models makes, and we see that the other one is here on the box. It's a regular 911. Oops, I just dropped something. Oh well, what else is new, right? So maybe there's a different dashboard for that 911. So maybe the decals. It looks like this decal set is for both. Well, maybe not. Hard to tell, because it does say 911S on these decals. That's pretty much what the license plates are anyway. It's 911S. There's not a whole lot of creativity there. And the California one just is 911S 67 for the year. So, but that's okay. That's kind of cool. Works pretty well. So let me pick up here. So it talks about in the instruction sheet of putting the wheels together, which basically in this kit just means putting these plated pieces and putting them over the rubber tires that they provide. And then there's an axle piece, which is really just this piece of plastic tubing here. So they want you to do that now. I think I'm going to wait till put that on at the end, only from experience from doing some other LS and later the ARRI line that took over LS, and then it goes from LS to ARRI, and then from ARRI it goes to Micro Ace. So these molds have gone several generations through several different companies, the same molds. And anyway, so I found that these axle rods here don't always fit too well into the body of the car, and don't always pop well into the spaces here on the hubcaps on the hub here. So I might wait and see how that goes and figure it out later. In fact, in some cases I got other plastic rod other than this to work with, because I found in previous cases I had to sand and scrape quite a bit of that to make it actually fit in the car and rotate. So just a heads up on that. Doesn't mean it's not going to work on this one, but experience has shown that could be a problem. And there is a line of these models that had a motorized, well, not motorized, it's got the friction motor. If you pull it back and let it go, it would move. So some of them came with that, with a little friction motor, basically, and they had metal axles, which were a lot better to work with than these plastic ones. So there's the rundown on that. So let me get this out of my pocket. Someone keeps trying to call me here. Interesting. Oh well. We're not answering the phone right now. We're making videos for you people out there in YouTube land. So there we go. You've got my attention right now, and hopefully I have yours. We'll see. Okay, so let's take a look. So we have pretty much all of that done. I'm going to wait on this rear plate on the back assembly. I'm going to put the... All right, so it talks about putting the windshield in there and the rearview mirror, and then the instrument panel inside, and then we pop these together. So maybe in this diagram here, hard to tell if that might be the license plate. So maybe I've got to get that back piece in there. But I wish that was a little more clear in these illustrations. Anyway, without further ado, let's get going on this stuff. And just an FYI, it's another extremely hot day in Rhode Island, so I may be moving slower than normal because it's hot. Not so bad in the basement, but still. It does kind of get to you after a while. Even with some air conditioning going in the building, but when it's over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, it's a drag. Okay, well, I've got to get all my tools together. I didn't do a good job prepping for this. I did not. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, as you can see, I've got a number of projects going on at once. And actually, I'm kind of working on filming several different things at once. See, I've got a lot of paint out on this work table because I've been working on some figure sets, which you'll be seeing those soon. A little cleanup, not much. That kind of came out pretty good. So there's a small, oops, I'm going to bump out the back here. I'm going to go too crazy and I'll cause more problems than I need to. There is the rear view mirror, which is a very small piece. Now, there's not a whole lot to these kits. There's not a lot of parts. The detail is, I think, pretty good for scale. I mean, you could do, obviously, with a lot more detail. But these are meant to be fun. And they have the overall look of these vehicles, I think. The prices are fairly low. At least in my experience, they have been. At one point, I was getting these online, shipped from Japan, at a very, very, very low rate. That's kind of changed since COVID and the whole supply chain issue. Though I gather that's ending now, but and I don't know if they've gone back to a more standardized shipping fee. But what they were doing is they were just doing, instead of shipping it by ship, they were doing it by priority airmail, and obviously the prices went way up. Oops, let me get this angled correctly. All right, now it says part 2 is you want to put the glass in the third part. Get the instrument panel in. So let's see how this is going to work. I'm going to be careful because I don't want to get I've been pretty good with these and not getting glue all over the windows in the past. I'm hoping I can continue that now. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Oops, I got one little smudge. Yeah, it's got one small smudge. It's not too bad. So it dropped in pretty well. I did get one little smudge over here, which I'm not thrilled about, but overall I think that went in pretty well. Now, let me see if I can get this. This looks like this could be tricky. As you can see, there's two pins there. I'm going to see if I can sand a little bit of this paint down to give you something to work with. I don't want to go too crazy with it. Since this model was molded in red plastic, I decided not to tempt fate. I just decided I would just paint it as a red car. Now, one thing that's interesting with LS, Airy, and Microways is how they've molded the plastic on the models. Trying to think from memory of the different ones I picked up over the years, because these are really great, I find, to do with kids at the library. They really enjoy these, and they're not that hard to build. Although the Volkswagen Beetle is a little trickier than some of the other ones I've worked on, but they're not bad. So they mold them. I think in the older version, LS, I think was the original. Oops. That should, oh, there we go. That should pop in a little further down and give me some room to sit this in. I think I've got more room to take paint off than I think. So I'm going to scrape a little bit more here, because quite a lot of this is not visible. So I got a nice sharp blade here. I'm going to take some more paint off. Give me something to stick to here. Yeah, so I was saying the like this is the LS version. So this was molded in red. That's what I'm getting at. Later versions, I've noticed a lot of the Microways ones, just they all come in white. All the parts are in white. So, which is good and bad depending. I mean, so kids would probably enjoy the fact that these, you know, this version really doesn't need a whole lot of paint. There's some I've even seen that had like two colors, so there might be the interior color might be molded in one color, like a white, and then maybe the body would be a different color, like red. So some of them were like that, but it seems like the newest releases of these seem to lack that feature of the multiple colored plastics and just seem to be an overall white, which makes a nice primer color you could paint whatever you want. But for those kids that aren't so keen on painting, I'm thinking mostly for kids, it just adds a little extra work to the process, that's all. Okay. Put this back. glue on the back window. I wasn't really sparing on the back because I didn't want to risk smudging the glass, but I think I'm going to need a little bit more there. So here it is. You can see the dashboard, it's in there now. All right, so now we're going to drop this in. Now I'm going to look at that rear plate that had the license plate on it. Let's see what that's all about. I don't know if I painted this. I did not. This might be a little tricky because I did not paint this in advance. And then it's got chrome pieces on it. Well, let me try to at least get this plate in there and then figure out if I can wait for the license plate and the rest of those parts afterwards. Let's see. Use a better way to clip these things off without using a chisel point here to get a nicer cut. And then get the emery board. I know they make sanding sticks, filing boards that are of higher quality than these, but sometimes the cheap and simple wins the race in my mind. Not too bad. This is supposed to go back onto those. All right, doesn't seem like there's too many options. It's just got to sit in the back. There's only one way it can go. All right, kind of like when things are self-evident. Just a little bit of cleanup. Drop this bad boy in here. Kind of wish I'd sprayed that, but I don't think it's going to be a big issue, really. It's a very small part. I think I can find ways to make this look all right. But that's something to think about, is you probably should paint this red piece before you put it into the model kit. So there she is. I'm going to see if I can pop these two on. I may want to try with not gluing this, because I have built some of these with some kids at the library, and we had an issue where we had to pop it open and then to fix something, or it didn't settle right. So if I can leave it without needing the glue, that might work out a lot better. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. All right, so they're gonna go. Yeah. This wants to go several different ways at once. Okay. For example, I don't think that's right for the. I'm already seeing something. Yep. Glad I didn't, because this instrument panel was coming loose already. would have been on the wrong angle. So let's reinforce that. Try this again. Oops. Yeah, it's a little tricky. Try not to cuss when I put this together. No, it doesn't quite want to do it. All right, so there's something not quite lining up right. It's not quite sitting the way it should, so I think what I'm going to need to do, yeah, I'm going to drop the, I think what I'm going to need to do is let this instrument panel dry really good before I try popping it in, because it's definitely affecting that and making it go in a weird direction. So I think that needs to dry. Not quite sure where it's hitting. All right, I think we're going to have to pause here, and we'll pick this up again later. And I'll try to get this thing to sit in right. So we're getting there, but it's got some issues sitting together correctly. All right, so let's give this a chance to dry overnight, and hopefully it will behave from there. All right, we'll see you soon. We'll continue this. All right, we'll catch up to you soon. Hey, and we're back. I've been playing around with this Porsche 911S, and this is the LS models 1/32 scale one. And this is how the final product came out. So it has some problems. It's got pros and cons to this kit. As I mentioned, the axles did require a lot of sanding to get the wheels to be able to rotate. They don't rotate terribly well. I mean, I guess if I kept going and going with it, maybe I could have gotten them to roll so you could push across the floor and let it race. They turn, let's put it that way. That's as good as I was able to get them, and I'm fine with that because I don't want it so loose that just tapping it's going to make it roll off a table and crash. So, you know, and I'm thinking about putting this in a diorama with a bunch of other 32nd scale cars. So yeah, there's a bit of a gap from where the top of the body meets the chassis. Even with lots and lots of rubber bands and clamping, I still wasn't able to completely get rid of that. And I've run into that issue with some other of these LS or Micro Ace 1/32 scale cars, what we built at the library with the kids. We did have an issue with that on a few of them. Although it didn't really hurt it that badly. It wasn't that big of a problem, really. Kids certainly enjoy building these, and I certainly recommend it for kids. For adults, I mean, they're fun. It is fun. But there are some, some detail issues with this that could be better. and I think it was the website from HobbyLink Japan. I believe they're the ones that had a description of. I'm going to paraphrase this, but I really liked the description because it basically said that while they were inexpensive and not heavily detailed, but they do capture the look of the car, and they were fun to build. So I would agree with that. That, you know, it looks like a 911. It was fun to build, but it does have a toy-like look to it, and I think it's partly the chrome pieces do that, and some of the, I don't know. Maybe I could have done a better job with this. It's certainly possible. I'm not the best model car builder, I got to be honest. My father was very good at this. And it's interesting how my father and I shared this hobby, but we had different tastes of what we built. He liked cars, trucks, you know, Mack trucks, 18-wheelers, things like that. All sorts of old classic cars. I tended to do tanks and airplanes, though he did those occasionally as well. He liked model railroading. I didn't have too much of an interest in that, although I didn't mind building the buildings occasionally. Those were fun. But anyway, so this is how it worked out. I did make a few variations with the decals. Of course I did. I tend to do that a lot. So I got the white circle from the racing car look. I got that from the AMT 63 Corvette Stingray that I showed you guys when I made that back a little while ago. So I got that from there, and it didn't have black numbers, which I really wanted the red and black look of this car. So I sourced the 3 from an old Tamiya T34 kit. If you look closely, those of you that built that kit will probably go, oh yeah, I recognize that. So that's where that came from. And then the kit decals. I ended up going with the California license plate, which I thought was kind of fun. They've got options for Japan and a European style license plate. So anyway, there it is. I enjoyed building this. It was a little bit more work than I thought, and the fact that I had to really clamp and fit the top and bottom together. Other than that, there's a 911. Okay, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye now.